Hello, Mcreviews here, and today I'm looking at Red Dead Redemption 2, but focusing on Red Dead Online. If you like this video, please consider subscribing so you don't miss out on my future reviews. So today is going to be a slightly different video. I'll still be assigning a score at the end, but it's a more general discussion about Red Dead Online and what direction it might go in the future. So Red Dead Redemption 2 came out in October 2018 and it's safe to say it was deemed a success. Countless 10 out of 10 scores, huge sales, and nominations for Game of the Year. And deservedly so. The game is a stunning, detailed, compelling ride. That's not really in question. However, Red Dead Online, that released a month later still in beta period, was definitely not received to anywhere near the same degree. Buggy, considered pretty empty by many, and had an infamously broken economy, where tins of beans were worth more than gold. This beta period ended 7 months later, and unfortunately, these problems are still not difficult to see more than a year after that period closed. Compared with GTA 5, a game 5 years older than Red Dead 2, Red Dead Online had more than 6 times fewer the number of players in the 24 hours before this review. What's going wrong? So let's look at what there is to do in Red Dead Online. Firstly, the open world comes straight from the single player mode and remains beautiful and diverse. From snowy mountains, dusty plains and lush meadows, the setting is absolutely perfect. The land doesn't lose any of its character on the transition to the multiplayer world, and additionally a large portion of the previous game's map is made available. These vast open spaces can be explored at will, and whilst they are often truly stunning, the point is they kind of are just space. At first, just moving around the world, you and your horse, with or without posse, is fantastic role-playing fun, but after not too long you'll realise that you're trying to convince yourself that what you're doing is enjoyable. Spending hours just following markers on a map and not often coming across new exciting things like you would in the single player, as the multiplayer world is considerably more depopulated. The highlight of Red Dead's online world are the story missions that have to be completed with others. You can do these with friends or enter matchmaking and find new, usually very chaotic companions. These missions are the best things on offer. They have the most quality and detail of anything online and only fall just short of being on the same level as single player content. Falsely accused of murder, you have to clear your name by pursuing the ones really responsible. Your honor level online dictates which path of missions you can then go down. These two sets take the form of basically being a maverick lawman mercenary or mirroring the single player by being a for-profit killer and thief. You can do both, you just need to change your honor with your actions first or pay a visit to Old Man Jones, who can change it instantly for gold, the game's microtransactional currency. Highlights include storming Fort Mercer with metal armor, hijacking a train and robbing a bank. Whilst the quality is there in terms of cutscenes and sometimes scale, most feel a bit by the numbers, either a bit basic or very reminiscent of things you've already done. Take for example the Fort Mercer storming and the mission where you have to ride into Tumbleweed to save someone from a hanging, shooting the rope to free them. Well, they are just cut and paste missions from the previous game. The bank robbery also, just a much shorter and less good version of a single player mission. Look, they're fun, fulfill the desire for a co-op version of the main game and can be replayed at higher difficulties, but they definitely lack a certain imagination. Compare it to GTA Online, something I will do a few times, where heists were added about 18 months after its release. It's currently about 21 months since the release of Red Dead 2, and it's absolutely begging for a similar injection of complex co-op missions. These obviously would tie in completely with the single player mode's themes and mechanics, as you basically spend the whole game carrying out heists of one form or another. These missions take place in a separate private world, but there are mission-like things to do in the free roam area. These come in the form of roles. There are currently 4 roles in the game: Moonshiner, Bounty Hunter, Trader and Collector. Bounty Hunter and Collector are the simpler of the 4 to explain. As a collector, you buy or receive maps from Madame Nazar, and areas are then highlighted on the map with a collectible somewhere within it that you have to find. Go there and find it, sell it back to her for a bit of cash. That's it. As a bounty hunter, you accept bounties from a town and fulfill them dead or alive. They work exactly like they do in single player: ride somewhere close by, take out the bad guys and come home with the bounty on your horse, breathing or not. These quickly become repetitive. Fortunately, there are legendary bounties. These 10 unique bounties have more detail and are more mission-like in their presentation. Rather than just a bunch of bandits, you face a hallucinogenic drug-wielding man in the middle of an alligator-infested swamp, or trek deep into the mountains and struggle to get back to society, being trailed by packs of wolves. As a trader and moonshiner, you need to provide supplies and resources to an NPC who will then over time create a product that you can then sell. Crypts at your camp deals with the trader side of things. You hunt animals in the wilderness and deliver them back to camp where, providing you have enough of the supplies, he will get to work. On the moonshiner side, you first have to buy a moonshining shack for 20 gold, which is a fairly considerable amount, then complete a few story missions for moonshine veteran Maggie. This sets you up to start making the moonshine, but you can then continue to do a few remaining story missions for her, and these reduce some of the prices involved with its production. Once you've done that, you can produce moonshine much in the same way as Crips produces goods, except instead of animal carcasses and supplies, you provide the money up front to create the moonshine mash and create flavours by assembling foods and herbs. Once time has passed and you have a product to sell, you can then start a delivery mission whereby you choose to travel a short or long, which you receive a bit more money for, distance to the buyer. Local deliveries are low risk, whereas ones further afar alert other players in your free roam to what you are doing and they can come and try steal from you. These two roles are the game's main way of generating income. Spending time doing each of these roles levels you up in their category and gives you access to unique clothing, styles for guns and emotes. On the surface that sounds like a lot to do, and admittedly as I began from level 1 in each role it was intriguing. New characters to meet, new cutscenes, it's fun. You play as each role for an hour or so and you think there might be some depth here. Then sadly, as you play more it dawns on you, it's just so unbelievably shallow. With the exception of some of the more set-piecey of Maggie's moonshine missions, and maybe at a stretch the semi-mission like legendary bounties, there is just so little here. It's 1 hour of content per role, and that's probably generous, on repeat. Is being a glorified courier really passing for exciting Wild West gameplay? Collectibles, usually a cute side addition to a game for people who are completionists, are presented as a major gameplay element, making up a quarter of the roles. So it's repetitive and grindy. At least all of that work will pay off with unlocks, right? Well, no. This is another key issue with Red Dead Online. There is so little to aim for. As with role ranks, you have an overall rank. Progressing this by doing missions, killing people, making deliveries gives you XP. Leveling up makes new guns, clothing and horses available. The problem is it hardly matters. Guns are all pretty similar, all kill with one shot to the head. If you don't shoot someone in the head in this game, you have missed. Ranking up for hours for the chance to spend hundreds of dollars on a repeater that is basically the same, but may have slightly more damage but with less accuracy, or vice versa, just isn't compelling. The same can be said for the horses. Again, tens of hours, hundreds of dollars, for a bigger horse, or a smaller horse, or a brown horse. Who cares? Their stats do actually matter somewhat, especially in race mode, and there is at least noticeable difference in performance here. But I managed to win races with my starter horse. Not to mention you made me name the damn thing, and made me get to max bonding level with it, and I'm not just going to retire Dennis. The problem is, it's not flashy. It's not boastful. GTA frequently mocks consumerism, but you can't say it doesn't make for an addictive online game. In GTA, players devote obscene amounts of hours to it, because you can buy a helicopter, a jet, a water ski, a 4x4, a sports motorcycle, a Harley Davidson, a grenade launcher, a minigun, a flamethrower, a space laser. It's endless. You can see from a mile off in GTA how high a level someone is, and how crazy and overpowered their stuff is, how much time they have dedicated to it. And whilst this may not be the healthiest form of reward, it counts to be recognised. In Red Dead, what can you do? Get a measuring tape out and put it to someone's horse? In the lobby, is someone a high level, or are they just good at customising their character? You can gain access to cool designs to put on guns, but who can really see them? There's not a lot of silliness or playfulness in the unlocks. With my examples from GTA earlier, as well as being playful, they also open up huge amounts of stupid gameplay ideas that people get creative with. When climbing on roofs is up there with the craziest things to do, it's a pretty low bar. Red Dead isn't GTA, and in some ways it's unhelpful to compare, because it isn't supposed to be like that. But objectively, the ceiling for creativity is so much lower in Red Dead. Spend an hour in player-created custom maps on GTA and this is abundantly clear. But even the previous Red Dead game had zebra and buffalo mounts amongst other crazy things to work towards. There was also legendary creatures to hunt with friends. We had to face waves and waves of boars and cougars, etc. There's just nothing with that much ridiculous fun in this game at the moment. A few things worthy of note I haven't mentioned yet are the ability to play poker, which is great. Poker is poker and good fun here, although the various animations make each hand last a bit too long. You can also fish in the picturesque lakes and rivers, or pick flowers and herbs if you fancy slowing it down, and it can be a nice breather. You can upgrade your camp if you want, but really there's no need as it's always in the middle of nowhere and unlikely to be needed by you unless you're doing the trader role. Although you can get a dog, which obviously is an absolute highlight. There are also strange missions which have variety, but again are always the most basic repetitive tasks possible that you will have already done. They do give a chance for cameos from some familiar faces however, which may give you a kick. As you roam the world, you will occasionally be invited to a multiplayer event like this archery challenge. Generally, I enjoyed playing these as they were a nice middle ground between the relative monotony of free roam and the chaotic PvP modes, which I'll get onto now. Where to start with PvP in Red Dead 2? I suppose I'll start at the imbalance that occurs before you even begin. Red Dead's PvP is just not an even playing field. Players take in their own guns and their own healing tonics amongst others. Perks that come in the form of Red Dead's card system also carry over, giving hilarious advantages. PvP should test players' ability and not their kit. Starting as a newish player every time, you go into games with people with high level weapons, better than yours, fully stocked out health potions that you can't afford. You'll also be playing against opponents who play with an effective extra life due to a card that causes the first headshot to not kill them, instead sacrificing their hat, and players who flat out do more damage than you because of their cards. It is ludicrous, plain and simple. The advantages afforded to existing high level players is so much that it makes it practically inaccessible and at the very least completely unenjoyable. There's also the nature of the gunplay that makes it so boring. As mentioned before, unless you're headshotting, you're missing, and it turns it into a horrible aimbot-esque salmon diving mess. So many guns just made irrelevant as you rarely fight at anything but a middle distance due to the devastating headshot stopping power and the poor movement you have to avoid it. Races similarly, you bring your own horse. Now just how my starter horse Dennis put up such a good contest in his races I will never know, but plain and simple he shouldn't have. Yes, in free roam it doesn't seem like horses matter too much, but here in a race setting, people with high level horses should be smoking anyone else every time. You should very obviously be able to choose whatever horse you want to keep it fair. Also, race mode involves killing each other. If you wanted a pure race, well, there isn't one. Why isn't there? If you get sick of the aim assist modes, good news, there's a free aim playlist. Unfortunately, every game I tried to play of it, the numbers were terrible and the match broken. My team winning within 30 seconds. Brilliant. On top of all of this, Red Dead Online remains very buggy and I encountered too many to mention. Horses spawning in the air then falling and dying, wildlife not spawning in. In this story mission, a man we had to direct spawned on top of a roof and we had to somehow get him down. He'll also frequently be disconnected from the servers, among so much more. So where to go now for Red Dead Online? Honestly, I don't know. And it's a lot easier to criticise than make what the team at Rockstar have done so far. There's a game here, that's obvious. The world and its nature are a perfect and award-winning playground, but the difference between GTA's online player base and Red Dead's is stark. Firstly, fix the bugs. They shouldn't be there, end of story. Give people exciting things to aim for. Before even thinking about adding more content, this makes the stuff already in there seem more worthwhile. Be creative when adding content and stop making it mind-numbingly repetitive. Lastly, make PvP fair and competitive. Players need to be stripped back for it or all given access to everything. It's one or the other. At the very least, add a playlist where this is the case. Can Red Dead ever be anywhere near as successful as GTA Online? I doubt it. The game doesn't lend itself to it. The modern world provides almost an infinite amount of possibilities compared to Red Dead. At a glance, there seems to be a lot of variety in Red Dead Online, but you quickly realise it's a very shallow, if wide, puddle. Despite its flaws, there is still some content worth turning up for, like the story missions, and you can probably sink 15 hours in here before you realise you're stuck in a loop with nothing to aim for. But unless you're a die-hard fan, in love with the setting and its potential for slow role-playing, you won't want to stay longer than that. I give Red Dead Online a 7 out of 10. Have you played this game? What did you think? Let me know in the comments below, and if you liked this video, please consider liking and subscribing. See you later.